the wireless. If you don't mind doing that, as long as we're not in the same business all the time.
Yeah, it's behind the. Yeah, it's right behind there.
Yeah, I'm always looking for like the IT guys, the marketing. The guy that sells lists, you gotta be careful. We'll tell you which one. So I gotta let you go, Rob. I'm really, really sorry because we're starting a training session. Can I have your number, please? Yeah. Yeah.
And did you,
Okay, I'll give you
I don't know what is, what's best, or if you have a agenda here, but we could start maybe, I know you've tried to get into this on your own, you've been to some of the training classes, so I don't know if we want to start with some general kind of basically current questions, maybe what you're currently expecting or needing the software to do, and then I could run through some examples, and then we'll maybe for the next 3 trainings we'll kind of get a, lack of a better word, like a game plan for each training ahead of time of the goals or topics to cover.
Okay, well, yeah, what we did so far is that we did some entries of customers, and we understand how the system works and how to enter and on what side, if it's on the QuickBooks side or even the service program side. Where we're falling into some challenges is the on the tasks side of it, is that we have some breakdowns of I think we at the very beginning we spoke about some customization. I think yourself and Sonia, and I don't know where we are with that, but these are the challenges that we're facing now in terms of the different levels that we need the system to do. And I don't know how to proceed, but maybe we could give you some examples.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I? I'm going to go get my mouse. I can take over the screen a second. Hi, Michael. This is George. I'm working with John. I'm actually a QuickBooks advisor.
Great.
And, sorry, I was on the phone with someone else 2 minutes ago. Where we'd like to start off with, I mean, we took we went through the software, we did a few walkthroughs, and where we're finding, you know, this is an extermination business, so I'll give you one of the scenarios that we don't know how to handle in the software right now. Maybe you can guide us through this. Is we have the exterminator go on site, and he's going through a complex of maybe 20 apartments. And he needs to check off, what he's inspected so far. And what I understood from John is that in the past, the previous consultant they had sent out a few requirements, and you guys were going to analyze how to customize the entry screens and/or the forms to print. So I created a little list of things that we would like to see or ask you about. Number one is the ability to go out and do these inspections on these buildings and say, you know what, apartment number 1, we checked for roaches, rats, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And apartment number 2, we've done this, this, and this. And we couldn't find some kind of screen that can help us do that here. And I'm not sure if that was a customization request that they made.
Yes, we do have in the software, if we're dealing only with print, like hard copy work orders, no mobile devices, we have obviously there's a ton of different ways I could get a customized checklist onto every work order, either per customer or per job. And that would print out, the tech could complete it on the hard copy. The mobile devices, we let Sonia know up front that we didn't have a current mobile solution that gave the customization on the mobile side, allowing you to do a custom checklist and fill it out in the field and then submit that in. That's why we did develop a like a web checklist where it was basically just a website that the techs could go to on their mobile device, and it was a web form that they could fill out, and then that would then, when they submitted it, it could be downloaded back into the desktop. Now, it was a separate kind of module, something I did for Sonia outside of the service program, meaning that it didn't integrate into the desktop. It was a separate thing that you could then get that checklist and then email it to the customer or save it in a PDF format.
Okay, so the checklist actually is an external external, I guess, piece, and that piece I can go on the web, fill out the checklist, and then I can actually, it wouldn't integrate into the inside of the service program itself on the back end, if I understood you correctly.
Correct. It does. I don't.
Basically, it's an online form that I go through. I hook up to a website, online form. I fill it out as a tech. I can print it, or I can email it to my client or back to the office.
Correct.
Okay. Am I able to save that web form? In other words, can I be, if I got 5 visits to do during the day, I can have actually 5, it's like a work order, I save 5 of them, or is it just, I'm just caching it on the web page, and once I'm done, it's over?
Yes, that is how it works. Is it was a simple HTML submission form that would then be sent to a MySQL database, and then I had a separate access program that downloaded the data from that form and allowed you to view the form on the desktop, export it to PDF, and then email it to a customer.
Okay, so I am saving the data somewhere on an MySQL database, and I can actually re-access it later on if I want to.
Correct, and the full intent was, eventually we are moving towards that web kind of.
Sure.
Our next phase in our development as a company is to move towards that web version where we'll actually be able to have a web app out there that allows you to customize some of the data entry screens and have that all integrate into the desktop client.
Okay. We haven't seen that web page or web solution yet. So is that one completed? Because if so, we'd love to see that, because that's what's holding us back.
I think I have it.
Okay.
Here it is.
So that'd be nice. I mean, that's great if we can have that. The second thing when we're looking for while you're bringing up the web page is they need the ability to, they go into individual residences, and if you don't get paid right there and then once you finish the job, I mean, collection becomes an issue in that business. So I noticed on the work order when you print it, you've got, and even on screen, you're able to, in the service program on the PC, you're actually able to see totals, but we wanted to be able to create an invoice out of that work order and actually have the client pay with credit card or ATM cards on site. Is that a possibility? Do you have that, or?
We don't currently have that in any one of our mobile solutions as far as being able to accept the payment. Now, right with Intuit, as you probably know, we highly recommend the Go Payment, the little device that you can plug in through the headphone jack, swipe the credit card, process the payment posts right into QuickBooks.
Right. The only issue is that we're not online we're not in front of the client with the QuickBooks. So this would mean that my techie would go on site, do the job, and then fill in his work order, complete it, and then head office would have to call back the client, or the client would have to call head office and process the card while the techie's on site, correct?
No, with QuickBooks you can get their what they call Go Payment Mobile.
Okay.
It's for $24 a month, they give you the device for free. It's a little credit card reader that hooks up to the phone in the field, the mobile device.
Okay.
And what it allows you to, you would have, it has its own app you get from Intuit that you would, after you finish the work order in the service program app, the tech does all his notes. He can then use that app to show the customer a total, and then can open up that Intuit Go Payment app, swipe their credit card, get the signature, process the payment. All of that syncs through the phone's data plan to QuickBooks in the office. You can then, it adds a module into QuickBooks that allows you to check for the mobile payments. It processes them on the QuickBooks desktop and applies the payment to the correct customer account.
Okay, maybe I'm missing a piece here. The work order is inside of the service program, which is on the smartphone.
Yep.
Tech closes up that work order, and are we saying that the work order, as soon as it's closed, would create the invoice in QuickBooks for me to apply the payment with the Go Payment solution?
No, the Go Payment solution would allow you to process their card on site through the phone, swipe their card right up through the phone, get the payment amount.
Right.
the work order would then be invoiced on the desktop side. Whoever's in the office would take that completed work order, create the invoice that syncs seamlessly to QuickBooks. You've already got the payment sitting there that then you can.
Yeah, that doesn't work. That's what I thought it was. It doesn't work for us, Michael. We need that invoice there and then, and we need the payment process afterwards, not the other way around. Because we've got 10 techies on the road. We'll process at least 10 calls per techie.
Yes, but our app will tell you right when you finish the job what the total of that service is going to be. You then open up the payment app to collect the payment right then and there. You worry about getting the invoice into QuickBooks later. You've already got the payment for that job.
Yeah, the problem, Michael, is I don't have the sales taxes calculated on the work order. I need those calculated. So I can't have that. I can't afford to have the techie start recalculating those things on the fly. That's our problem right now. Because on the work order...
That and you're not giving them a hard copy, a work order for the customer.
Well, that we can always print with the printer.
Where?
On site. You have the little printer, the mobile printer.
Don't print. You can't print from the mobile device.
You cannot print from the mobile device, Michael?
No, our mobile solution does not have any print option currently.
Okay. That's problem number 2.
What we were telling Sonia when I worked with Maria is that there was a way you could pre-print the invoice from the desktop, give the tech the hard copy at the beginning of the day. He fills out everything on his mobile device, so there's no data entry. He's just carrying those hard copies around to leave with the customer. He would have the tax calculated on there with the total. You could do it that way and then use that Go payment to process that payment.
Yeah, I think Sonia didn't give you the proper requirement because techies go on site based on an estimate. They say, the client says, I got a problem with wasps. So we say, you know what, the average call on that is $300, but, you know, once they finish the job, it can actually be $250, it can be $400. So the final count is not until the technician has finished his job. He might be there for a half hour, an hour, sometimes 2 hours. It depends, you know.
So we give a range of price between 95 and 125 as an example.
Right. So it's an estimate that they pre-approve, but in the end, they're approving that, you know, it's time and material type of work. So we can't pre-print orders and have the client sign because the number won't be the same. So we could if we didn't put the amount on it, and he would fill it by hand. But that's what we're doing right now with our paper copy. So kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah, and the only reason why we wanted to go to a mobile device is that calls come in and we could dispatch them right away instead of the guy coming back to pick up some other work orders. You know,
yeah, we can do
which is what they're doing now.
So we need to rethink how we're going to operate with this, knowing what what the box is, as they say, because that means we won't have invoice.
The only other solution we have is almost, I would say, within the next 30 days, possibly being available with the service program. It's currently tied into our other desktop software and directly with QuickBooks. And this is our other app that is on the market right now for Droid devices and Apple devices. And this allows signature capture, the recording of payments. You can take a work order, turn it into an invoice, record the payment, get the customer signature, add pictures or anything like that to the invoice, and that all syncs seamlessly right now with QuickBooks and our other software.
Yeah, see, we're looking for something like this, Michael.
And this prints in the field to the Zebra mobile printers, the Zebra RW420s, the little 4-inch receipt printers.
Yeah.
Through Bluetooth.
That's what we're looking for. We're looking for something like this. This would be the solution we'd be heading towards. It's exactly it.
And this is something that you guys will I mean, right now you could run just with QuickBooks. I mean, we could put this on the device. You could synchronize it with QuickBooks, get customers' items like that. Right now it just doesn't integrate into the service program, so there's no
Oh, okay. So this doesn't have so this is straight mobile office to QuickBooks. There's no service program integrated features.
Not yet, no. It is. We do have another software, a sister software to the service program on the market that this directly integrates with, and it's very similar. Like you create a task, it then shows up on the technician's device.
Right.
He opens that task, fills out any notes. When he's done, he presses invoice it. It turns right into an open invoice. It can calculate all the sales tax information because it's reading it right from QuickBooks.
Okay.
Gives him his totals, grabs the customer signature, hits record a payment, marks it off, whatever it is. If it's a credit card, he can key in the credit card information. That all then sends back to the desktop where someone using QuickBooks in the office can then look at that recorded payment, process the credit card. Meantime, he's already either emailed the customer directly right from on-site or printed it right in his truck.
Can the technician process the credit card on site?
He could use that Go Payment app to process the credit card.
Okay.
We don't get into the credit card processing directly.
Okay.
QuickBooks has a great mobile solution for that. I mean, especially on the mobile devices, it's just a matter of switching, minimizing one app, opening the other, swiping the card, getting the payment done.
Okay. So this solution would actually have an invoice get created into the QuickBooks, and from there I can actually launch the Go Payment app, which would see that invoice and process the payment there and then.
Correct.
Okay. That's what we're looking for. Yeah, that's what we need.
Now, but how many steps could it actually?
Let's split it up into where John's showing me a diagram here. I'm trying to split I see this thing in 3 phases or 3 parts. Number 1, the ability to use the service program to schedule the techs on the road. Okay? Because right now they use a huge whiteboard and it's kind of cumbersome. So the service programs, to me, seems to do the job. Okay. I'd like to see a bit more about the display, the dispatch board, and maybe you can show us that later on. The second part would be the work order processing, which we're going to get into, and the third part is the payment process, the invoice/payment processing. I mean, those are the 3. It sounds like the third part we'd have to be using this other software. Now, is this software on the market right now, Michael?
Yes, you can. Right now on your devices, after we get off the phone, I'll leave this web page up.
Okay.
You can get it on the Apple App Store or on the Droid Market.
Okay.
It works on the 3.7-inch Android phones. It works on the Galaxy Notes, and it also works on Android tablets.
Okay. All right.
And as you can see, I mean, it's got this right here, I think would be everything you need. Our current development process is we're integrating with the service program right now.
Okay.
We'll probably have that done in, probably, like I said, about 30 days, test it, make sure it works correctly. And we've already had it working with our sister software for about 6 months in a test environment, and this app's been on the market for itself probably maybe 2 months now.
Okay. 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 Let's start off with. We're okay with creating customers. We don't need. Well, I have. Maybe we can take it from the beginning now in terms of learning how the software works. I've played quite a bit with it. Maybe 2 days with it here and there. There's one thing is creating the customers. The way the client created the customer, the way West Island created their customers in the past in QuickBooks, it was a number, then slash or dash the name, like that, right? Okay. The new client base the new client list or new customer is not going to be created like that because no one knows what 100-284 means. When I'm searching for, I rather search for Dana. Okay. So when you have there's a parent customer here and then there's actually the customer, correct? Now, in QuickBooks terms, is this like the customer and then the job underneath, or is this you're just nesting one customer under another parent customer?
No, the first way you mentioned is how it operates. Is we treat the best way to treat customers that we feel that have multiple service addresses or multiple job sites, especially large property management companies or apartment complexes that you're maybe servicing different tenants, where the tenants may change but the address necessarily does not, is to use the QuickBooks Job feature.
Got you. Okay. All right. Now,
we work seamlessly with that. All our screens in our software, you could select the billing parent and then that job site or sub or child customer.
okay, got it. Okay. All right. Michael, would you know how I can get into the, like I've seen QODBC, I've played a bit with that software in the past. Is there a way that we can take and flip these things around? I like to flip the manual, like for the first line, you see there 1012. I like to make that the suffix and not the prefix. So basically I would have Manoir des Îles as the customer and then do 1012 as my job. Have you done that before in terms of data manipulation in QuickBooks?
Yeah, you can, if we had the full version of Microsoft Access on this PC, we could use QODBC to tap into QuickBooks and run a couple queries against the data to restructure it.
Perfect. Okay, we do a lot of SQL on Access. No problem. I'll do that. Okay. I'll just flip them around. No problem. Okay. He doesn't have access on this machine, so.
No, if he did, I would be more than happy to, show you how to structure that simple query. If you did get access on here in the next couple days, the full version, and would like me just to help you structure the query to start with, I'd be more than happy to walk you through that. It'd take 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Okay, that answers that question. Okay, we're good with creating customers. We don't have a problem.
Yeah, well, let's just do it. Make sure the way we're doing is the right way.
Okay, so create a customer.
Now, what I would do is you have really two ways to use the service program. You can, depending on how your accountants are going to control you with what actually gets done in QuickBooks versus done in the service program and then later pushed into QuickBooks, we can do it one of two ways. One, if a new customer calls, we could go straight into QuickBooks, create the new customer, synchronize it with the service program, so now you can then create a task for that customer.
Let me give you a little scenario on how it works. What happens here, Michael, is that once we do, let's say, a campaign, an advertising campaign, we can get bombarded with a series of calls right away of new customers. So we're 5 people on the phones answering calls, and all of a sudden someone will book an appointment with us. Okay. So what happens is that we have to enter it in the service program, all their information first, create a task of the type of job it is, and then allocate it to an actual technician that's probably already on the road, and that we have to look at his schedule. But we're 5 people actually looking at the same schedule, seeing who we're going to give the job to depending on what area he's in. Okay, you grasp the way it.
This is exactly. I will. Right now, if you don't mind, let's just take 5 minutes and let me walk you through how I would do that process.
Sure, okay, perfect.
Customer calls in, new customer, like you said, from one of your campaigns. One of your staff gets them on the phone. Right away, they hit task in. Whoop, not that one, the other button, task entry. They just come right here. Now, the first thing they would do is, if they're a new customer, just start typing the customer's name. Right away, when I tab down, it's going to say, that's not a valid customer. If I hit yes, it's actually going to prompt me and bring up another screen to create a customer in QuickBooks and the service program at the same time. Now, I don't recommend doing this because you do have to have QuickBooks open and running, and you're not going to have all 5 people with the service program and with QuickBooks.
Right. Okay.
So what we do is just hit no, and that adds the customer to the service program only. It's what we call creating a customer on the fly. So now, without any hesitation, I can now get all the information from this customer. So in that time took about 40 seconds, I could enter in all the customer's information right when I have them on the phone. I don't have to wait for QuickBooks or any syncing, so that customer's not going to get irritated or frustrated. You're just right there with them the whole time. Now our task type is where we would select what type of job we're going to be doing.
Well, the first one is in French, carpenter ants, so you could click that one.
Now, if we have to save time for the data entry, whenever you select a task type, we could populate a description here. And if I double-click my task type, you can see default description. I can maybe have it put in just some static verbiage.
Okay, what I did, Michael, maybe if you go back where you were maybe 2 seconds ago, on the right-hand side, see the task type questions?
Mm-hmm.
I created task type questions to go with that task type. So that says inspect the location, yes or no, identify a solution, yes or no, and that's what I would expect to be printing on a form somewhere.
Now, what we have for more of a checklist is we do have an actual spot where you can create custom checklists for print and have those.
I couldn't get that to work, so maybe it's just my lack of training.
And we'll walk through that in just a moment. The task type questions are what I would consider great for scripting your calls. So you program those task type questions for what you want the receptionist or the staff to ask the customer when they have them on the phone. Then they can quickly key in those answers.
Okay.
And those also can be printed on the work order for the tech to see.
Yeah.
And maybe our task description is whatever the little verbiage is you want to put. Inspect customer.
That's where you put the verbiage for you guys? You put it here.
Whatever and like I said, we can double click this task type. We can put that verbiage in here in the default description, whatever you want it, and whenever you select that task type, it'll fill it out automatically for you.
How many characters can we put in the default description, Michael?
I believe it's 255.
Okay, thank you.
So you have a good amount here. This task-specific notes has a lot more room. Because the task description and the resolution actually do appear on the first line of the invoice as the notes from that job, and those do then synchronize to QuickBooks, we're limited on the field size of the database of QuickBooks, cutting off item descriptions at 255 characters.
Okay.
Now our task-specific notes may contain some special instructions for this one-time job or something that the tech needs to see. If the tech needs to see these notes, you check Show on Work Ticket. Otherwise, this is just used for office notes. The only people that will be able to see this are the people using the service program on the desktop.
So the task description and the resolution will print on a QuickBooks invoice. That's what I understood.
Correct. When we close out this task, the first line that's generated on the invoice in our software is, we call it notes as an item name, and we put a description that is populated from task description and resolution. We can walk through that in a moment and you'll see it, how it works.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Our resolutions, if we double click in here, function just like our task types. And when I had originally set this up with Sonia, we had set up these resolutions to be your kind of needs follow-up in 15 days or follow-up in 30 days. It's that whatever recommendation from the office, and again, it will appear on the invoice, so you could create and this was all done in French before, so I don't remember the verbiage, but I had my French going pretty good for a while. You can have something like that and just say service complete.
Now we can use this for the follow-up. I'm going to follow up in 30 days. You know, when you have the 3 visits.
But you follow up in 15 days, but then you could reschedule it automatically for the 15-day follow-up.
Can we reschedule? Is there a way to reschedule automatically?
What you would do is if I put in, if this was closing it out, I put in that follow-up in 15 days. Before I were to hit post to notes or to invoice this, I could hit duplicate task, so it creates a second copy of this. I then would adjust my task type maybe to say follow-up, and then I would put my due date for 15 days out. So I've now created an automatic reminder to follow up with this customer in 15 days, where then I could call them and schedule an appointment at that point to have it
Want to schedule it
to the tech. We also could make this a reoccurring, that if we wanted to reoccur in 14 days and after one occurrence, it would reoccur once in 14 days when you were creating the initial task.
Michael, where do we create actually the text and or assign to the assign to? What we could do, because John and I, as you were explaining the follow-up scenario, is that we don't want to schedule a tech to follow up, but maybe just someone from the office to call up the client and say, in 15 days, hey, how's it going? Do you still see any ants or not? So what we want to do is the task that we would duplicate, we'd actually assign it to an internal person here that would do all the follow-up calls or persons rather than the text, because we're not going to schedule the text to go and follow up. They only get the call. Okay.
Is you maybe have this is where my thought process was. You're assigned to, I've created a username called unassigned.
Okay.
So right now, when you're initially getting this call volume, and right now you're just creating the customers, taking the intake calls, you're not picking a tech yet, they may know we're going to schedule you. Yeah, they want service maybe this Friday, so you schedule the appointment for Friday, but you don't know which tech's going to be there, so leave it unassigned. Now, when I close, I'm going to be able to have someone in the office go and say, I want to see all my unassigned work orders, and now they could then schedule it to the actual tech doing the job.
Is there a way to see this like on a calendar type of format?
Exactly. We could go to Schedule View. And I can click Employees. And I want to see maybe these guys plus unassigned. You can see up to 10 names on the calendar at once.
How can I tell which employee? Is there a color code for the employee? How do I tell?
Their names are above the columns.
Okay. And I can resize the columns, right, and so forth?
No, they are static here. What controls the view is your monitor resolution. Like when I'm looking at this on my computer, I have a regular 19-inch flat screen LCD monitor, and I can see, a full work week with 2 technicians on every day on this calendar.
Michael, can you shrink the go-to training panel? It takes up half of our screen here.
I can't see it on my end, but if you can, I think you can hit the little orange arrow.
Done. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Okay, so
what we would be able to do is on Friday, you'd be able to look at everything unassigned, and then it's a drag and drop calendar. We can now say, okay, we're going to schedule it for him at this time.
See that? I missed that. I'm sorry. Shoot. I was looking up on the screen somewhere.
It's a drag and drop calendar. So we initially had this on, unassigned.
Right. Okay, you just moved them over. I got you. Okay.
So I just simply reassigned it to the tech maybe that was available.
Okay. And I noticed that you can change the scale of the dispatch board. You can say 30 days and weeks.
Yeah, you can look at, I think this is the hours here.
Yeah. We usually do on a week basis, but that's okay.
I mean, I can see all my text now in a week view. I just got to scroll.
Yeah.
And you can customize your week view. Right now, if I only want to see 3 days maybe, just click and drag and highlight what you want to see.
Yeah. Yeah, we're thinking is putting up maybe a 15-inch TV on the wall. It'll substitute as right now they have this huge whiteboard. It's like 8 feet by 5 feet or something. So we'll just put up
like a big 50-inch TV that we could show this, and everybody could actually physically see it.
Yep, it would actually, that actually worked pretty well, because you can, if you put this on the TV, you could hide that, shrink that, you close all this, minimize the taskbar, and you've got almost your full screen schedule view as your board.
So you said something important. There's up to 10 names on the dashboard, right?
If I click employees, I can pick and choose who I want to see. If I want to, I can have up to 10.
I got you. What happens if we have 11 employees?
We can only see 10 at one time.
Well, we're okay. We're 9 here, right? Yeah. Okay, we're good for that. Great.
We are moving towards a web-based calendar system shortly, so this will change. We won't have that limitation much longer, but
okay.
The other option is we can synchronize this to a Google Calendar.
Okay.
So that's how the schedule view will work, and how you can quickly, and again, anything you do on the calendar updates the task itself, so it reassigned it. Now it's not unassigned, it's now scheduled to Martin.
Right, right.
If I use my task list, I could then, if I had that task type called follow-up, I could then filter, let's say that was follow-up. I then would see all my follow-up calls for my staff to complete internally.
Gotcha. So we'll create a resource called staff or internal or follow-up, and then assign the follow-up calls to them.
Everything you want to assign work to is done under the user list, user maintenance.
Okay.
So maybe you do have you could assign to Office.
Yeah.
And I see you already have a service one in here, which you could do this a couple different ways. Your task itself you could assign to maybe service and then unassigned. That way the service manager or anyone in service could go and see everything assigned to, or basically all the scheduled jobs, and then they could further say, okay, I want to see now everything that still needs to be scheduled, and now they would be changing that so they could see all the unassigned jobs versus just the scheduled ones. The scheduled ones would be assigned to service and then maybe sub-assigned to the tech.
So as soon as when it's assigned, does the tech get some kind of beep on their mobile device?
What you can do is, in that user list again, you put in their email address as a, what's your service provider up there for those phones?
It's called TELUS.
Spell that for me.
TELUS.
Are they using all Google Gmail accounts right now, these guys?
Yeah. But he said the carrier for the mobile.
Yeah, the carriers tell us, but in the end, you're going to set up those PDA phones to receive emails from their Gmail accounts, right?
Yeah, what's the admin?
We don't need to use the Gmail. I mean, you can, and we can automatically email the tech a notice that he has a new work order that was created. He would then hear the bing of the email. He would check his email. And that, to me, there's an easier way, especially if they're using phones.
Yeah.
We can actually text them.
Okay.
Through email, which is kind of cool. Let's say the number is 555, his cell phone. Whatever that cell phone number is, if you set it up like that in the email, and then, let's see, It's then for TELUS, it's on here. It's at message.telus.com. If we send an email right through our software, just a normal email, but we have the text email address like that, he'll receive it as a text message and get that notification, hey, a new work order is created for me. He now knows to check the app, synchronize, see the new work order, and start working.
Okay. Okay, so he doesn't have to leave the app always on and always pinging to see if there's new work orders for him. He just gets the text message first, then he goes and launches his app.
Exactly, and that we found is the best way. Is the guys, could kind of get out of it like, oh, I didn't sync my app, I didn't see the new job, and get out of some work. This way, they get the text, they think it's the buddy texting them or something. They look at the text message, oh, new work order. Plus, they get that text message vibrate and alert. And
okay. So basically, they get the text message, they launch their mobile app, they synchronize, and they start working on a work order.
Mm-hmm. Like if we assign this to, what is that? There, and we open it up. If we hit email, SMS email employee, we don't have Outlook set up on here.
No, these guys use Gmail. That's all they use.
Okay, and I'd recommend on the service program computers, just set up the Gmail client into the Outlook on their machines.
Okay.
And you can use Gmail through POP3 or IMAP, so you can leave a copy of the message on the server, or have the clients each download the messages. That way, it'll work the best with our software as far as anytime you email out, it pops open Outlook, allows you to send the message, and then that gets recorded in the notes of our software of any communication.
Okay.
But the tech would do his work, and let's say this was complete. That's when we would come in and do our resolution. Or the tech could do this out in the field. He could fill out his resolution and actually complete the job in the mobile side, but let's just assume he turned in like a hard copy work order.
Okay.
We then could go to line items. And this is where we would need to either, one, he could be doing this in the field, or we could do this here in the office. This is how we would now bill out for anything we would need to charge the customer. So
where would you put his product and what he put his concentration levels, percentages, and all of that?
That's what we do. If you want to do it that way, we can actually just leave it. We can leave the line items blank for now. When we go in to do the invoice, here is where we have the unit of measure, and this is set up for our reports where whatever chemical needs to be an item in QuickBooks. So what would be, I think we may have some chemicals in here, what would be a common chemical that you would use?
What's the one we created the other day, John? Remember we created one last week?
Permethrin would be a common one, but there's none. I haven't seen any on this list.
We created one on last week. And it wasn't permethrin, it was something else. It was the first word of that spreadsheet.
I don't remember.
Thank you.
Okay.
I don't see them too.
Well, let's
pretend it's one of these. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's our chemical. What we'd, depending on what you have to keep track of, if you need to keep track of the, down here in the States, our pest control companies have to keep track of the EPA number.
Yeah, which is equivalent to our registry number. It's the same thing.
You would put that in the item description. And then our quantity here would be the amount used, and then the units of measure we could populate with the different units of measure that you would need to keep track of, ounces, gallons, liters, whatever that.
But this would mean that you're doing this in the office, right? Because we're in the invoice mode right now.
Correct. Correct. The tech can record this in the field by picking the chemical and putting in the quantity used.
Right.
And then the office would then just have to tie in the correct units of measure currently when they're closing these out and sending them to QuickBooks.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
What about this?
Well, in there, we don't know. Ask Michael.
Does the mobile office app have this integrated?
No, it does not. It has your standard invoicing features where you could pick an item and a quantity and have a price tied to it. It doesn't have a units of measure.
Okay.
Because what we want is when the tech is on site, we basically wanted a checklist whereby he would always fill these in and not forget, because that's they get audited by the local authorities on pest control. That's a must. But we're trying to push this task one step back onto the field where the tech is on site.
Yeah, this is done after the fact when the tech's completed the work order. Right now, the billing has to always come back to the office before it goes into QuickBooks. It's a system that is always going to be like that. It's a check and balance.
Right. So there's no place where you can put the quantity, well, the chemical used, quantity, and unit of measure on the work order. He can't do that at that level, right?
He can't do the unit of measure. There's not a separate field for that. Now, he could notate the unit of measure in the description per item if you'd like.
Okay. What about if we create a checklist? Can we have those 3 fields on a checklist?
We would have to do the checklist similar to what I have done before, and it would be a separate web form that he could fill out. And that could be done, and that could be then viewed in the office, but someone then would still have to fill out this invoice screen with whatever that submitted checklist was.
Okay. We're pushing this back here.
Unless we attach it to the actual invoice.
But you kept saying to me that you wanted to be able to invoice on the field so you get paid on the field.
Yeah, no, but we're just talking about the units of measure. If the units of measure, if we're doing it offline, like we did the actual checklist, right? That part there, nobody needs to see it. We just need to see it in attach it to a customer or a job or a task, that in case it comes in to
So
get...
let's put what the customer needs to see and get the payment in versus what we need for reporting purposes.
Exactly.
But right now, I got a tech who's got a phone, right? You're going to get a text message. You know, open up the app, launch the app, synchronize, open up his work order. Do his work, whatever. Then fill in the work order. Then now we have a problem because we don't have an invoice. Well, we have a challenge whereby he can't invoice on the fly. He's going to launch this mobile app.
Now with that mobile office app, when he completes the task itself, that's what's going back to the office. The customer will not see that task, if you will. So anything on that task, he could notate the chemicals used, the quantities, the units of measure, and then he can invoice that task. So he gets that open invoice in the field. He can collect, get the customer's signature, print it. You can do the Inuit Go payment to process the payment. And then at the end of the day, someone just in the office has to go through the pending tasks that were completed and walk through this step here. Since you've already invoiced it in the software or through the mobile app, you won't actually be necessarily maybe invoicing this to QuickBooks. You're just setting this up for the reporting purposes.
I guess it just has to be recorded on the tax books. Posted to notes.
I find too many breaks in the steps. Stefan, the techies are just going to, it doesn't work. It doesn't work, Michael. I know you're trying, but it doesn't work. There's too many breaks here and there, and come back and finish this, there, and in the office versus tech. What we wanted to do is start the work order, start the call from here, get it going, dispatch it out to the techie, which seems to work fine. And when it's the part where he completes the work order, things kind of break down right now. And we'd like him to enter all that information and spew out an invoice. That's what we want to do. If we have to go custom, you got to tell us. Maybe you need to take some time to figure it out and tell us what it would take to do that, how much it would cost. But that's where we want to be.
All right, that is something we're always welcome to work on. We'd be more than happy to get with you guys and try to come up with a mutual solution that, one, is going to better our software, and two, is something that you guys need to to continue to use the program and to operate your business. And that's me. But Johnny, if you would like to, and I forget the other gentleman, I didn't catch your name.
It's George.
George, if you guys would like to, maybe we'll save our training sessions, the remaining 3, for once we get something figured out, but we could get together on the phone tomorrow, if you'd like, and just kind of try to think through this, maybe some different solutions.
Yeah, because we have some steps and breakdowns that we did already and what we needed to do, and the steps that the technicians need to go through. So we have that pretty much, right? Well, we have something.
Well, there's
an
2
idea.
things. Well, it's 2 things. We've got like the frame of
the steps that the system needs to do.
I think I understand what you're looking for. I just need to get with the developers and see what our options are, what we could do to test this.
Right. Because what we can do, Michael, let's approach this from 2 sides or 2 phases. Number 1, what can we use the software to help us get going right now? Because the season's going to start. I mean, it started 2 weeks ago, then it got cold again, so we're okay for another week, I think. This week it's very cold today, so the bugs won't come out until next week. So that's a good sign. It gives us a week to, I'm trying to break this up into areas whereby we say, you know what, calls, taking the calls and dispatching the tech, the software definitely out of the box does the job for what we need it to do. So that's already a head start, because right now the techies come back and pick up their work orders, the back and forth travel.
So right now what we need to do is be able to custom the task to create a work order where we're eliminating the other work order.
I know, but we're not there. Yeah, but we're not there yet.
Why aren't we there yet?
Because your work order doesn't have all the information that you need to print on it.
This is the web checklist that the techs that we designed that the techs would fill out on their mobile device. It's mobile ready, so when you pull this up on the browser, it resizes nicely on the phones. Just had all the different, I don't know what this stuff means. I was just going off what Sonia kind of sent me, a handwritten document.
Okay.
But just so you guys know, I do have to come to a hard stop here in 3 minutes. I've got a 10 o'clock training appointment, so I don't know what.
Okay, so tomorrow what time?
Would you like to, let me get with my developers today, just see what, what we can do, and then I've got a pretty open day tomorrow. Do you want to get together kind of late morning, like 11 a.m. Eastern?
George is going to double check.
I'm just checking my calendar, Michael. Give me just a sec.
Okay.
Yeah, 11 a.m.? Okay.
11 a.m., does that work?
Yeah, that's good for me.
Okay. And what's the best number, just so I can put it right here on my calendar to call you, Johnny?
514-695-4739.
Perfect. Well, I will give you a call tomorrow at 11 a.m. and I'll have a couple options or ideas to bounce off you guys, and then we'll just kind of move forward based on tomorrow's appointment.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Michael.
Anytime. Talk to you tomorrow.
Okay,
all right.
Bye.